All right, so part 3 of UBI. Finland. Let's talk about Finland. So you can go get the details on this online, but Finland implemented an experiment to see how UBI would work. And Finland is very socialist, has a very socialist economy, very homogenous culture and ethnicity. I don't think Finland is really having, the immigration crisis that a lot of other European nations are right now. And I saw this YouTube video on this recently. So if you go search for UBI Finland, you'll find this. And it's this investigative thing to see how it worked out for them in Finland. And what they did is they took a selection of 50 or so people and gave them UBI, gave them a check. Right, for like a year. They got, I don't know, whatever, the equivalent, whatever, $5,000 a year, or whatever the equivalent is, using the euro, right? It's like a random sampling of people, so it's not like, people who are rich or poor or whatever. And yes, that's actually what they did. These, sociologists, social workers, government employees said, we're going to experiment. This is a social experiment to understand, trying to understand, society. And so that they go around and they this lady's interviewing, they catch up with one of the guys, and they say, so how did you feel? How did you feel about getting that money? And I mean, can you imagine what he said? He said, "Oh, I liked it." Right. Why are you even going around interviewing people about this? Is that like something that we need scientists to tell us that people will like to get a check for, $5,000? I mean, these guys are called, social scientists. They're considered they're considered philosopher kings in that culture for doing this kind of bullshit and for just, giving away tax dollars to people. It's just fucking ridiculous. So anyhow, they talk to some of these people. UBI, maybe we'll do this in the future. And then they talk to one of the social workers or one of the sociologists about it. And he said, well, one of the problems that they're having with the program, can you guess what one of the problems is? Funding. Wow, you guys never thought about that? No one. I mean, what was I just saying? So they never deal with the problem of scarcity of capital. They never address the question of where the fuck are you going to get all this money to pay everyone $5,000 a month for the rest of eternity. It is just so ludicrous. I can't even believe it. And so, mythologically, I like to tie everything, being a Generation Xer, I like to tie everything back to one of the great films of my generation, which was The Matrix, and the scene of the red pill or the blue pill. So it's UBI is the ultimate blue pill. We currently have we have to pay money to the government in taxation, 25% of our income, and maybe you get some services back, maybe you don't. Most of us don't, except whatever mythological services, supposedly, things that we didn't ask for. But we still have this. We have a little bit of freedom, and you can make the argument that really it's free-range slavery. Ultimately, we're slaves, because ultimately they're the ones who can put us into cages. Ultimately they're the ones, who make the decisions and stuff. Ultimately they have the power of force. So ultimately they can kill us, put us in cages, and ultimately they decide how much money we're going to give them in taxation. So you can make the argument that we're really free-range slaves, but my point here is that we still have a little bit of we have this sense of independence. Under UBI, everyone comes under the total umbrella of government. Whenever government gives people money or gives organizations money of any kind at all, they never just say, oh, well, here's some money, go do what you want. No, there's a prize. If they're giving you money, they're going to want to know that it's being spent right. There's going to be some kind of parameters about it. I mean, the history of, if you study the history of healthcare legislation, you see this. This is why the government is so deeply embedded in that. That's why they're so deeply embedded in regulating the auto industry, so deeply embedded with regulating, everything. Once they give you some money, then they're coming in. So they do this with people who are on welfare. If you're on welfare, there's certain things you have to, certain things that they'll want to know. And they've talked before about how they wanted to give mandatory drug tests to welfare people. They could easily do that with UBI or anything, and that would just expand the scope of government control of things to where this is basically like the blue pill. You are plugged into the government. They're providing you your money for basic subsistence for everything. And anyone who thinks that government is going to do that and just, be cool and free and y'all can do whatever you want, well, you're just living in a fantasy world, my friend, if you think that is going to happen. So let me move on to why this is important for anyone who's pursuing the left-hand path, or pursuing personal initiation on the left-hand path, psychocentric initiation, independence, and rational self-interest and personal responsibility. And that is the key word right there, is responsibility. UBI is a thing that removes responsibility away from you. It removes away responsibility. And to dedicate your time and your energy into these dreams about we'll have UBI and pushing for UBI. I'm not saying it's a dream that it can never happen. It could easily happen. So let's get that clear. My purpose for discussing this is not to slough it off and say, oh no, that'll never happen. Oh no, I think it's very, very possible it will happen. Very likely it will happen. There's already politicians, American politicians out there talking about it. It's already working its way into the government cycle of things. And when they implement it, it's not going to be like the dream world that Scott Staton and these other people think that it's going to be. But I do think it's very possible it will happen in my lifetime. I hope it doesn't. And my point in saying this is that it won't be a good thing if it happens, and that it is a fundamentally immoral and evil thing to happen. And not that everyone who pushes for UBI or believes in UBI is necessarily evil or immoral, but I would hope that anyone who is looking into UBI or pursuing it will take a little time to actually review these key aspects of it. I mean, I haven't talked about anything that isn't that's hidden from plain view. I've not discussed anything about this. Nothing in my critique borders on conspiracy theory or anything like that. It's just, you understand a little bit about basic economics, understand a little bit about recent, history, and that you will see, I think any rational person will see that it's an unworkable, untenable system, and that it's an immoral system because it removes personal responsibility, and that to push for it, you have to be really removing responsibility from yourself. You're saying, I don't want to be responsible for getting my ultimate income. I think the government should be responsible for that. Instead of give me all these services, I just want just give me some money. And I mean, don't you see that's the problem right there? Whenever people say, government just owes me something, they need to give me money. Well, the government's more than happy to sweep in there. Central authority is more than happy to move right in and provide that need. But you have to remember there's going to be a price. The fundamental laws of the left-hand path is that there is no free lunch. There is no free lunch. There will be no free lunch with universal basic income, there will be a price for it. So that's about all I can think of to say about it for now. I might come back with some more, but we'll see. But my hope for everyone out there is that you continue to pursue individuation, continue to champion rational self-interest and personal responsibility, continue to seek the truth that is in your own heart, and until we talk again, I hope that you will remanifest super substantial. Bye-bye.